Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Wednesday, July 29th, 2026, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today is 95.2 degrees, and the low will be 67.7 degrees. Please be sure to stay hydrated and take breaks in the shade if you are spending time outdoors. On today's show, we are going to look into the reasons why some federal judges are expressing a loss of confidence in the Justice Department. We will also examine the travel chaos currently impacting Oregon due to the Fox fire. Additionally, we have a variety of other stories to cover throughout the show to keep you informed. We have a busy episode ahead, so stay tuned for all the latest updates on these major headlines and much more right here on Alex's News. Good morning. We're following a story about growing tension between federal judges and the Justice Department. Our reporter Ethan has been digging into this. Ethan, what's going on here?
Good morning, Grace. So a major investigation by ProPublica, published as of today, July 28th, 2026, found something striking. Federal judges all across the country are increasingly criticizing the Department of Justice for conduct they call unlawful, unethical, unseemly, and dishonest. And this isn't just judges from one political party. ProPublica reviewed hundreds of cases since Donald Trump retook the White House, and the criticism is coming from judges appointed by both parties, including some appointed by Trump himself.
That's a broad coalition of critics. What exactly are these judges saying the DOJ is doing wrong?
The heart of it is something lawyers call the presumption of regularity. It's a foundational legal principle, Grace. Courts are supposed to presume that government officials, like FBI agents and federal prosecutors, are acting in good faith and following the rules. But according to ProPublica, judges are increasingly saying they just can't take the government at its word anymore. Their review found more than 40 cases where judges explicitly cited this presumption to criticize DOJ lawyers.
More than 40 cases. Is that unusual historically?
Extremely, according to the people who'd know. Former federal judge John E. Jones, who's a George W. Bush appointee, said he doesn't believe the history of U.S. jurisprudence has ever seen anything comparable in the annals of the Justice Department. And legal experts are framing this in almost constitutional terms. Jeremy Fogel of the Berkeley Judicial Institute likened the current environment to a political conflict, where one branch of government is openly questioning the legitimacy of another.
Let's get specific. Can you walk me through some of the cases that stood out?
Sure. One of the most dramatic came out of Rhode Island. Trump-appointed Judge Mary McElroy quashed subpoena requests involving a hospital's care of transgender children. She alleged that DOJ lawyers misrepresented facts and withheld information. Specifically, they falsely claimed the hospital hadn't communicated with the department, and they inappropriately claimed the investigation was operating out of Texas to target sensitive medical records in another state. Judge McElroy said flat out that the presumption of regularity, quote, no longer holds, end quote, for the DOJ, and she referred those lawyers to a review board for possible discipline.
Wow, that's a serious step. Were there others like it?
There were, and some of the details are almost hard to believe. In New Jersey, Judge Christine O'Hearn said she'd no longer blindly accept the government's statements of fact unless they were made under oath by someone with personal knowledge. That came after a case of extreme sloppiness, where the government claimed a detainee had a 2009 marijuana conviction. The problem, Grace, is that the detainee would have been only 4 years old at the time. So the judge basically said, I need proof now.
4 years old. That's a remarkable error. What about criticism over how prosecutors are using their power?
That's where it gets even sharper. In Minnesota, Judge Patrick J. Schultz condemned the use of the grand jury process to harass political opponents or to coerce official action. He called that behavior, quote, blatantly unlawful and unethical, end quote. And down in Washington, D.C., Magistrate Judge Zia M. Faruqi described the administration's attempts to secure an indictment from a state court, after failing to get one in his own court, as either unseemly or unlawful. So judges aren't just talking about paperwork mistakes here. They're questioning motives.
Are these criticisms actually affecting the outcomes of cases?
Yes, in several instances, judges have ruled directly against the government. In Indiana, Trump-appointed Judge James Patrick Hanlon ordered the release of a man named Salah Sarsour. He rejected the DOJ's claim that the arrest was part of an anti-terrorism dragnet. In the Southern District of Ohio, Judge Michael R. Barrett ordered a detainee's release because the government just failed to make a reasonable argument that the man was a flight risk. And in a high-profile deportation case involving Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Judge Polichinas said the government had destroyed the presumption of regularity.
You mentioned paperwork problems earlier. What kinds of mistakes are we talking about?
Well, ProPublica found a real pattern of professional negligence. We're talking about declarations filed with inaccurate dates, briefs that simply ignored established facts, and this one is striking, statements generated by artificial intelligence that referenced case law that doesn't even exist. So AI is essentially inventing court precedents, and those fake citations are ending up in federal filings. That's the kind of thing that erodes a judge's trust very quickly.
So how did the department reach this point? Is there a bigger cause here?
Analysts and legal professionals link it to what they call a transformative shift in priorities during Trump's second term. Essentially, there's been a pivot away from civil rights enforcement and toward a mass deportation agenda. And that shift has coincided with a big loss of experienced people. Mitch Bernard of the Natural Resources Defense Council noted that 8 of the 10 litigating attorneys his group hired last year were former DOJ employees. So a lot of that veteran talent is walking out the door.
Do we have any sense of how many people have actually left?
The numbers are steep, Grace. Other reports cited by ProPublica indicate the DOJ lost approximately 21% of its attorneys between December 2024 and March 2026. That's roughly 1 in 5, gone in a little over a year. And the Civil Rights Division was hit hardest of all, reportedly losing about 70% of its staff. So when you lose that much institutional knowledge that fast, some of these errors start to make more sense.
Are there formal consequences for the lawyers involved?
In some cases, yes. Judge Kathleen M. Williams referred a DOJ attorney named Alejandro Brito to the Florida bar for disciplinary proceedings. And she went further, forwarding a ruling to New York officials regarding an ethics complaint against Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. So this isn't just judges venting from the bench. There are real professional referrals happening, the kind that can affect a lawyer's ability to practice.
How is the Justice Department responding to all of this?
The DOJ is pushing back firmly. A spokesperson, Kirsten Pelz, defended the department, saying DOJ attorneys are, quote, dedicated public servants, end quote, who act with integrity and professionalism. And on the specific criticisms from Judge Faruqi, Pelz asserted that the judge was simply wrong on the law and has a documented pattern of, quote, editorializing, end quote. So the department's position is that the judges, not the lawyers, are the ones out of line here.
And what about the White House? Have they weighed in?
Not yet. ProPublica reports that the White House has not responded to requests for comment. So for now, the official pushback is coming entirely from the Justice Department itself. It's worth watching whether that changes, because this is really a story about trust between two branches of government, and that kind of erosion doesn't repair itself quickly.
It sounds like this could have effects well beyond any single case.
That's exactly right. When judges start saying they need sworn testimony before they'll believe basic government claims, it slows everything down. Every filing gets scrutinized more heavily, and cases can take longer to resolve. Legal experts told ProPublica this touches the very machinery of how justice gets administered. And once that presumption of good faith is gone, rebuilding it takes years, not weeks.
Ethan, this is a fascinating and troubling look inside the courts. Thank you for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure, Grace. We'll keep following it.
Good morning. Wildfires are tearing across eastern Oregon right now, and one blaze has shut down a major interstate. Our reporter Chloe has been tracking this all night. Chloe, good morning. What are we dealing with here?
Good morning, Grace. So as of today, July 29th, Eastern Oregon is battling what's being called the Foxfire. It's just one of dozens of active blazes burning across the state right now. The biggest headline is the transportation chaos it's caused. We're talking about a 70-mile stretch of Interstate 84 closed in both directions between Baker City and Ontario, right near the Idaho state line.
70 miles is enormous. When did those closures actually start?
According to the Tri-City Herald, the interstate saw multiple shutdowns. Yesterday, Monday the 28th, the highway closed in both directions from 6:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Then it closed again overnight. That second closure lasted until roughly 5 o'clock this morning, Tuesday.
Why did they have to shut it down overnight like that?
This part is a little alarming, honestly. The Oregon Department of Transportation, or ODOT, said the overnight closure was necessary because the fire began burning power poles and lines directly over Interstate 84. So you've got flames and falling infrastructure right above the roadway. That's obviously not something you can drive through safely, so they had no choice but to close it down until crews could assess the damage.
And is the road open again now?
It is, at least for the moment. It reopened this morning after conditions improved, but road crews had to go in first and check the damage. The Tri-City Herald noted that traffic cameras showed pretty sparse traffic moving through a heavy haze of smoke after dawn today, so it's open. But it's far from a normal commute out there.
If I'm a driver stuck near that closure, can't I just find another way around?
That's exactly what ODOT is begging people not to do. They've strongly advised travelers against seeking local detours, and there's a good reason. Other major routes, including sections of US 20 and 26 between central and eastern Oregon, were also closed because of wildfires. So the alternatives are limited, and local roads could get overwhelmed fast if interstate traffic starts pouring onto them. ODOT also warned that more closures could happen with very little notice as the fire shifts.
Let's talk about the fire itself. How big has it gotten?
It's grown quickly. The Fox Fire was first reported on Thursday, and according to the Western Fire Chiefs Association, it's been showing what they call, quote, extreme behavior, end quote. That means uphill runs through grass and timber. As of this morning, the fire had scorched more than 58,000 acres. Some reports put that closer to nearly 72 square miles, and it's still at 0% containment.
0%. What's driving that kind of spread?
It really comes down to the weather. Conditions out there have been breezy, hot, and dry, which is essentially the worst-case scenario for a fire like this. Those conditions are feeding the flames directly. And the forecast wasn't helping either. Winds were expected to push the blaze toward the northwest today, so crews were watching that direction very closely.
How many people are actually out there fighting this thing?
As of this morning, a total of 233 personnel were assigned to the effort. Now that might sound like a lot, but for a fire this size and this active, they're stretched thin. And remember, this is happening while dozens of other fires are burning across Oregon, so resources are being pulled in a lot of different directions all at once.
You mentioned towns being threatened. Which community is most at risk right now?
The town of Huntington has really borne the brunt of this. It sits about 12 miles southwest of the blaze. According to the Daily Journal of Commerce and other reports, Huntington's roughly 500 residents were placed under a level 3, quote, go now, end quote, evacuation order. That's the most urgent level there is. It means leave immediately, don't wait.
How close did the flames actually get to homes?
Frighteningly close. Huntington Mayor Chuck Wary estimated that the fire flared up Monday morning on the east side of town. He said it came within 250 feet of the nearest residence. To put that in perspective, that's less than the length of a football field between the flames and someone's front door. So you can understand why they didn't hesitate on that evacuation order.
Has anyone been hurt in the response so far?
Yes, and this one's tough. The town's fire chief had to be airlifted for medical treatment after the fire truck he was operating rolled over during the weekend response. He suffered head and back injuries. It's a stark reminder that the people fighting these fires are putting themselves in real danger, sometimes just navigating the terrain and the chaos of an active scene.
With all that smoke, how are crews even able to fight it?
That's been a real challenge. The thick smoke actually grounded aircraft so they couldn't do the aerial firefighting you'd normally rely on. Instead, firefighters turned to bulldozers to create containment lines around Huntington. They focused those efforts near a railroad, specifically to protect critical infrastructure. So it's really been an on-the-ground, hands-on fight out there.
You said the Foxfire is just one of many. What else is burning across Oregon?
Right, this is part of a much larger pattern statewide. One other blaze getting a lot of attention is the Ocoee Butte Fire in Central Oregon. It's been identified as a top priority, and that's because of how close it is to the city of Sisters, roughly 5 miles away. When a fire gets that near a populated area, it jumps right to the front of the line for resources.
And the other road closures you mentioned earlier, were those tied to these fires too?
They were. Reports from WMVO and the trucker confirm that a separate rural stretch of U.S. Route 20 between Burns and Vail was also closed for nearly 70 miles on Monday. So it's not just Interstate 84. You've got these long stretches of highway shutting down across the region, which is exactly why ODOT is so worried about drivers trying to improvise detours.
So what should people in that part of the state be doing today?
The biggest thing is to stay informed and stay flexible. ODOT has made it clear that closures on Interstate 84 could return with little notice as fire conditions change throughout the day. If you're in or near Huntington and you're under that Level 3 order, the message is simple: go now. And for everyone else traveling through eastern or central Oregon, check road conditions before you leave, because the situation is shifting hour by hour.
Before I let you go, what are crews watching for in the next day or so?
The wind is the big wild card. With the blaze expected to push northwest and those hot, dry conditions hanging on, the fire could keep growing before crews get any real containment. They'll also be hoping the smoke clears enough to get aircraft back in the air, because right now those bulldozer lines are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Until the weather breaks, this remains a very dangerous and fast-moving situation.
Really important reporting. Chloe, thank you so much for staying on top of this for us.
Happy to, Grace. We'll keep tracking it and bring you updates as they come in.
Here are some other headlines. Things are heating up on the Atlantic coast, where French authorities have told nearly 4,000 people to pack their bags and hit the road. Tourists at campsites, holiday villages, and leisure parks around the resort of La Caninau are being forced out as officials try to keep the situation from going up in smoke. Between France and Spain, the fire has truly spread its wings, forcing roughly 330,000 people to evacuate. In the Gironde region, the blaze has scorched 420 square kilometers, an area 4 times the size of Paris. While the fires took a breather during a calm night, officials warn the situation is stabilized but not fixed. It is a real toss-up, as falling humidity and rising temperatures could spark a new flare-up. Eric Burkhardy from the National Firefighters Federation says they are at a point of fragility, but they intend to keep attacking the flames until the fire is finally extinguished. Turning to labor news, some workers are finding themselves in a real bind. Work permits for Haitian TPS beneficiaries were not extended as of Monday, July 27, 2026, leaving many in the lurch. In Key West, the general manager of the Half Shell Raw Bar had to shell out some bad news, suspending 6 employees after their permits expired. The hospitality, construction, and long-term care industries are feeling the heat of this uncertainty. In South Florida, Jewish Community Services had to tell 18 employees they could no longer provide home care to elderly Holocaust survivors. Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security is reminding everyone that this program was only meant to be a temporary stay. To help people fly the coop, the government is encouraging Haitians to request a $2,600 check for a free flight home. In legal news, a court panel has decided not to throw a wrench in the works regarding a mail ballot order involving Donald Trump, though the jury is still out on how this affects the 2026 midterm elections. Moving over to California, the government is making a $1 billion move. after a federal judge ordered San Diego County officials to get an inside look at the Otay Mesa Detention Center in June, the operator, CoreCivic, decided to cash out. CoreCivic sold both the Otay Mesa and the California City Detention Facility to the Department of Homeland Security for $1.5 billion. DHS spokesperson Lauren Biss says this purchase was prompted by sanctuary politicians who have tried to make private prisons a financial nightmare through new legislation. It seems the government decided it was time to take the keys and run the show themselves. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Opus 4.8, Gemini Pro 3.1, Gemini Flash 3, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.